Racing is sponsored by Elgato, who created this lovely Stream Deck. For more information about the Stream Deck, the link is in the description below.
Howdy everybody, how are y'all doing today? I am Austin, I am y'all's commentator today. Ninja Rider isn't unable to make it today, so you guys are just stuck with the loud Texan. Yay. After the first two rounds, we find ourselves in the Americas League in Shanghai. Shanghai, China, one of the fastest tracks on the calendar, one of the most exciting tracks on the calendar, especially with that long back straight right there to that hairpin, providing a massive chance for overtakes and battles. It's another Herman Tilke designed track. The Shanghai International Circuit was built upon reclaimed marshland. A very soft ground there, but the actually $450 facility has retained some of its former life as a swamp, with the paddock and hospitality area surrounded by the water, providing some of the most calming views in all of this crazy sport that we call Formula One. We have 3 tires available today: the Ultra Softs, the Softs, and the medium tires available. But don't expect the Ultra Softs to be used in qualifying that much because of the very high degradation that they have. They last about 4 laps, and then you have to need to go into the pits. We look at the track records right now. The pole time belongs to Fabrizio Donoso of a 1:31.308, and the total time belongs to Daniel Barazne. Take a look at the track from up top. This 3.38 mile track, 16 turns, so many different parts of this track. You got 2 low speed sections, 2 massive straights, and then 1 massively high speed section. It should be a banger of a race. Alright, let's go on to a hot lap with CRG Evo as he brings us around the Shanghai International Circuit.
This week we're on board with the Ferrari of Evo from the Xbox F1 League as he navigates a lap of the Shanghai International Circuit ahead of the Chinese Grand Prix. Starting his lap now on the rundown toward a very high-speed, swooping double right-hander of turns 1 and 2. Not an easy overtaking location, but we do expect to see some side-by-side action at these corners during the races this week. Try to open up turn 3 as much as possible in order to get the best run through turn 4 and inevitably turn 5 and into the very likely overtaking location at the hairpin of turn 6. Evo will be braking right around the 100-meter board and all the way down to 2nd gear for the entrance and apex before popping back up into 3rd gear for the exit in order to minimize wheel spin. Up through the gears on the short run down to my favorite part of the track with a high-speed left and then a slightly lower speed right, dropping from 7th down to 5th and hugging the inside of the corner as much as possible in order to open up the double left-handers of 9 and 10. 10 is a bit more open than 9, so carry that speed on to the medium length straight and down toward the heavy braking zone of turn 11, and also the DRS detection line at the entrance of turn 12, which along with turn 13 make up the most important corners on the circuit due to the extremely long straight that follows them. Understeer can be your biggest enemy coming out of these increasing radius corners, and proximity to the car in front will have a huge effect on your ability to overtake into the super heavy braking zone of turn 14. Well over 330 kph with the DRS open, Evo now spots his braking point just before the 100-meter board and slams on the brakes, downshifting all the way to 2nd gear once again, but holding it for a bit of the exit before climbing back up through the gears towards the tricky final corner. Stab at the brakes and 2 downshifts are enough to get the car through the corner cleanly, and then it's a short sprint to the line, and that's a lap of the Shanghai International Circuit.
Thank you, Evo, for that very fast lap and a very fast thing. Well, not a lot of stuff to talk about. Qualifying is going on right now, so let's head off the track here in Shanghai. Well, if you join us live in qualifying, the skies are looking a bit damp, and the track is a bit overcast right now, but there's no water falling from the skies. We're on board with Illicit right now. I believe he is actually on his in-lap. He's actually on the Ultra Soft tires. Surprised we were going to see some people on the Ultra Soft since they have very little tire life around the circuit near the start. 11 laps remain in the session, so it's not overall end-all be-all right here, as Rafa is starting his fastest lap right now. So let's stay on board with Rafa in the Alfa Romeo and see how it goes. Turns 1 and 2. Very different lines, very different strategies. Oh, Rafa spins around. He's going to park it on the inside, let that Force India by, let a few of those cars by. He actually spins his car into the gravel. That is very unfortunate for Rafa. Trying to push it to the limit, and he found the limit, and then he crossed the limit, and then he went spinning around. And that's the limit. The car starts going in circles. That's probably not where to go for. And that is very unfortunate for Rafa right there. He passes the car dangerously close. Let's take a look at the Haas of Intergalactic Gentleman. He's coming around turn 1. Now, I was talking about turn 1s and 2. It's very different lines through here. You can take the tight lane, you can take the wide line. You won't lose a lot of time through both, and side by side through there is going to provide some great battles, especially on lap 1. Intergalactic Gentleman doing an out lap on those Ultra Soft tires. 10 laps to the actual final times, but hey, some guys just like doing a few cider laps on the Ultra Softs like we've seen Raven do, and I believe Lionel Martell is about to start his final lap. Yes, he is. He upped it to 5 ERS. He flings around that corner, and he's getting ready to rock and roll here in Shanghai. Just dancing his car softly around turns 1, just off the gas and brakes and just letting the car coast through there. Taking a bit easy, not getting on the gas a bit too hard, not wanting to spin up the car and spinning around, especially when you haven't set a lap time. Hard on the brakes, let it coast through there into turns 3 and coming up to the high speed turns of turns 4, 5, and 6. I believe I'm counting different turns right now. Yeah, this is 8 and 9. What am I talking about? It's been a long day. Martel braking hard. Big lockup coming into the carousel. This is one of the hardest turns to get right, as you heard in the hot lap video, especially if you're following a car ahead of you. You're getting a lot of understeer near the exit, and you're going to have to actually let off the gas to avoid your car either spinning around or shooting off to the left and into a wall. Big into the brakes, bit of a lockup, hops over that curb. Martel, though, still pushing hard. He's across the final corner. That is all 4 wheels off the track. He bangs it to the left, and does he stay on the wall? Yes, he does. Oh, ho, ho. Snap oversteer, massive tank slapper for Lionel Martel, and he has to go around the track all once more on those gravelly soft tires. That's very unfortunate for Lionel Martel right now. Let's take a look at Slash LP. He is starting a flying lap very soon. He's actually in a pack of cars, and I believe that's Intergalactic Gentleman ahead of him. Yes, it is, and he's actually heading into the pits. How's Goodbye Biceps doing in that McLaren? He's coming across the line. Goodbye sits currently in P14. I think he is actually starting his flying lap, so let's stay on board with Goodbye Biceps. And He's running all those soft tires. Didn't seem pretty easy for him. Car's actually jumping around a bit while he shifts up. This shows you how much power these cars have. Big on the brakes once more. Big lockup right there. Both wheels. This seems to be affecting his speed that much. Sitting in the middle of the track right here. Not staying that tight to the apexes or the track. Comes into this double left-hander. Runs it very wide. Almost all four wheels off the track right there. Hard on the brakes. Clip the apex. And entering the carousel right now. See how Goodbye does it. Keeping it very nice and in line right there. As he's coming down the long back straight, opens up DRS eventually. And he's going to spot his breaking point right now. Hard on the brakes, big double wheel lockup right there. Gets the car rotated and launched away in the separate direction. One more turn to go. Keeps it nice and tight. Flies down the front straight. Where does Goodbye go? He goes into P8. Take a look at some of our top guys right now. See Senna up there. Actually on low fuel right now, so he might be running into the pits, actually. Nope, he's going to finish up this lap. He's on a super low fuel then. And Senna's going to come across the line. He sets a new fast lap. 1:31.459. Almost by a complete second faster ahead of Triton. What a lap by Senna. Yeah, almost an entire second faster than everyone else. Senna is just on a completely different level. The fuel load might have helped. Just saying. He's going to get his car back with 5 minutes left. Might go out once more if he's not happy with that lap time. Tezu just came across the line. He's in P2. Illicit's in P4. And he's on his in-lap, I believe. Let's take a look at Muddy Water. It's in P7, weaving down that back straight. Kind of want to make some move for that Toro Rosso behind you. Or start getting on going for the Mercedes driver. Yeah, he's up in his ERS, up to 5. Swinging it to the inside and getting ready to rock and roll here in Shanghai. How does Muddy Water do? Taking a very wide berth, almost clipping the grass a little bit. But it's a very fast slingshot into the transfer part of turns 1 and 2. Like I said, multiple lines can be used to your advantage through there, as there is not one definitive quick line. So it's going to be very interesting to see what lines people take going into turn 1 with a bunch of cars around them. As one of the Force Indias makes way for Muddy Water right now. He's looking fast like a bullet right there. Hard on the brakes, heading into the carousel right here. Muddy Water keeping his foot planted, just slowly pushing down on that throttle until he's full throttle right here. And he's rocketing down that long back straight. Opens up the DRS as Intergalactic Gentleman has been our first retirement of the session. I believe you might see that up here. Hard on the brakes for Muddy Water. A little bit of a lockup, but other than that, he is very nice through here. Clips the curbs. Keeping it nice, keeping it within the limits, and Muddy Water goes third. What a lap by Muddy Waters. There are a lot of yellow flags coming along. What is happening to Intergalactic Gentleman? I believe that might have been an actual car retirement due to a crash. Take a look at Lundqvist right now. He's coming across the line. And I believe he is just now starting his flying lap. Lundqvist trying to qualify on those ultra soft tires. Let's see how he does it. Taking a very awkward line through the first 2 turns right there. He kept it tight, and then he swung out wide to hug the apex of turn 2. Completely different than we saw Muddy Water take, who hugged the outside line and then swung onto the inside of turn 1 in that transfer area. Uncle's Bro keeping it nice and on the lines. Within the lines, really. In the fast sector. Bit of a lockup right there in that front left into the double turn. Ooh, it's just grinding the curbs. You don't want to sit there too much, because that will upset the car and may actually rotate it for you. And we've seen what has happened there multiple times, especially on a few formation laps, sending a few cars spinning around. Lundqvist Bro coming down that long back straight in that Williams rocket. You want to spot that curb hard on the brakes. Lifts off to avoid massive lockups right there. He still had one little bit. He's turned it before his car was ready to be rotated. Coming into the final corner once more. Lundqvist Bro comes across the line, and his time is P11. 6 Mikey was right behind him, and I believe he is starting his flying lap, so he actually might get a little bit of a pull from the Williams ahead of him. And actually, Muddy Waters stayed out, and he moved up to P2, but no, Jalidon moves up into P2. And Triton. A 5-place grid penalty for severe collision with Pranky. What has happened to Pranky and Triton? There's Pranky's car. Actually stopped it on the outside of the track. Hopefully he can get it on going right there. But that is very unfortunate. I believe I do see some carbon fiber that might belong to Triton. But Pranky, see if he can get his car going once more. We had a little bit of car collisions. No, oh my goodness. That was a very unsafe join back there, as there was almost a collision with that right there. As with 5 seconds left in the session, Pranky retires, and Senna is out on another flyer of the lap. Can he top that time? Can Jalidon close in? He almost hits the other Williams. Can Muddy Waters stay on this tire? Actually, no. Muddy Waters is heading into the pits. I believe 6 Mikey is trying to try something on these Ultras. Let's see if 6 Mikey can close it in. Opens up DRS and comes across the line. 6 Mikey jumps up into P8. Jalidon drifting around that treacherous hairpin right there. He sees the Red Bull ahead of him. Might try to get a little bit of a pull. That was Z3 Mikey. Jalidon goes fastest with a 131.328. And now the ball is in Senna's court. Senna running with that low fuel setup. Can he go 1/10 faster than Jalidon? Senna topped everyone's time with that low fuel setup by a complete second. As whoa, Pedro takes the new fastest lap. A 131.268. Pedro showing his moves in China after 2 horrid qualifying sessions as from Bahrain and Australia. And Senna coming around the final line. Here it goes. Senna does not go faster and stays in P3, but Pedro coming out of nowhere and taking P1. What a lap by Pedro. Once again, Pedro did qualify for the F1 Esports Series this year, so he's very happy about that and excited to go and compete in the qualifying rounds with that. So, kind of expect that from the esports driver, especially on China. But what a lap by Pedro right there. As Kermit Johns finally retires, Pedro takes P1. And as qualifying wraps up, here are your qualifying results. Sweet. It's Pedro taking P1, followed by Jalidon, Senna, Muddy Water, Tezu, Creepy Johns, Rafa, Z3 Mikey, Triton, Illicit, 6 Mikey, Mickey. I've been saying Mikey this time. Mickey. Jonathan AI. Goodbye. Lundquist Bro. Intergalactic Gentleman. Painful Storm. Frankie. Fruit Salsa. Slash LP. And Lion Martell. Important information is that Triton receiving a 5-place grid penalty for that collision with Frankie. We'll be right back and see you on the formation grid. Alright. I hope you guys are ready for a epic race we have in store. Full on 20 drivers of the Americas Series. I believe we haven't had a same winner in all of our races. Let's see if we go 3 for 3 with that as the cars are starting their formation lap. Hope you guys are ready for one heck of a time. Some of the fastest 28 laps you're going to see is going to go flying by very soon. As we go down the field and take a look at who is starting on what. Yo Pedro and Jalidun are your first row. In the second row, it is Senna and Muddy Water. In the third row, it is Tezu and Creamy Johns. In the third row is Rafa and... No, in the fourth row, it is Rafa and Z3 Mikey. In the fifth row, it is Triton, the generational talent himself, and Illicit, who's actually starting on the Ultra Soft, so we're going to see a big push on him, and he's going to go for the two-stop strategy here today. 6, Mickey and Jonathan AI make up the 6th row. In the 7th row, it is Goodbye and Lundquist Bro. In the 7th row, it is Intergalactic Gentleman and Painful Storm, as, whoa, one of the Ferraris went very low down there. Actually cut a bit of the grass. I think that might have been Triton. As Fruit Salsa, actually that's Pranky, followed by Fruit Salsa, Slash LP, and Lion Martell make up the last 2 spots on the grid. Yeah, that was actually Tezu who's in the grass. Senna has throttle pedal problems. Oh. Well, this shouldn't be good. Well, as everyone's lining up on the grid right now. Everyone's a bit spread out, so this might make for a very interesting start. We're looking on from a distance, waiting for all the cars to come around that final corner. The guys at the front are like, why is everyone so spread out? Their tires are cooling down after they spent most of that lap trying to warm them up. Lion Martell's the last car to come onto the grid and line up. And we're getting ready to go green. Alright, and here we go. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. And away we go for the Americas round 3 here in China. And immediately Triton, with that grid penalty, falls down 5 places as there's a massive stop by Rafa. And he was just brake checked by somebody ahead of him, which caused a massive collision. There's a Williams going incredibly wide, and he's into the wall. It's a massive skirmish in the backfield. They're exiting 2 wide right now. So we see Muddy Water and Senna going side by side. Muddy Water actually getting ahead of Senna. Getting his nose ahead of Tezu, actually. It's not Senna, but Muddy Water staying in P4. Pedro falling down to Jalidun, though. Jalidun takes the lead immediately off the start. Goodbye Biceps, another mover off the start as well. as they go through that high-speed sector. Fruit Salsa and Slash LP battling side by side into this double apex corner. Fruit Salsa around the outside of Slash LP. Remember Slash LP. Oh, Fruit Salsa does not have the grip on Slash. Slash on those medium tires, outmaneuvering Fruit Salsa. And as they're coming on to this long front straight right now, we got a yellow flag in Sector 3. That's Rafa. Rafa's out. Rafa's down. Where is Rafa? Just got his car back on, but I believe he's spun like he did in qualifying. And now Pedro drops down into P3. After a late dive by Senna, who covers off Pedro right now and moves up into P2. Been a very disastrous start for Pedro after a very widespread start. Senna taking a wide line. Pedro trying to sneak it up the inside, but Senna, he's forcing him in there as Pedro trying to set up the inside once more with a very aggressive maneuver. And Muddy Water, oh, Muddy Water trying to go around the outside, his back end kicked out, and he's swung onto the inside. Now Pedro trying to send it from a mile wide back. He's got Muddy Water on his tail. Pedro trying to do anything to get back to P2 as the Red Bulls are fighting in the background. Let's take a look on board of Muddy Water as he's chasing down the leaders of Pedro and Senna, as Jalidon has pretty much pieced out up at the front, trying to leave these two in the dust. Muddy Water, though, closing in on Pedro and Senna going through the carousel. Now it's very hard to follow cars ahead of you. And here as we see Muddy Water taking a very different line. No DRS, but he is being followed by Tezu right behind him. So we might have a little bit of a drag racing action here in China. Oh, there goes Tezu. Tezu swinging down to the inside line. Tezu, oh no, but Tezu actually backed off. Thought about it, didn't have DRS, didn't want to risk any sort of early race contact. And so he backed off from there. Smart move by Tesla. Senna sets the new fastest lap of a 1:35.428. As DRS is now enabled. Looks like Tessie wants to start another time. Trying to close in on Muddy Water once more. As we already have some guys in the pits. That's goodbye in the pits. After 2 laps on the track. Must have had a problem. That's why some of the yellow flags were out. Let's jump up to the Alfa Romeo of Senna. Just following Jalidon very closely, and Muddy Water and Pedro. Pedro having one of those throttle problems. I thought Muddy Water was closing in on Pedro, but that's actually Tezu closing in on Muddy Water. And with DRS, it's going to be a very fast fight through here. We're going to look at Senna now. They're at the they're actually at the exit of the Rotunda. And he's closing on him, even without DRS. He just enables it right now. Jalina going down into the middle of the track, down to the inside. Senna going around the outside, but Jalina pressures him around the outside, and Pedro almost comes into the back of Jalina, and Jalina still holds off Senna as Tezu holds off Muddy Water for P4. Tezu made the overtake on Muddy Water for P4. As Senna and Jalidon are going full on Ravid mode right here. Jalidon defending with that Mercedes from the charging Senna. Senna unable to make any moves into that tight section. Remember, this is a 28 lap race. These guys are racing like it all matters right now. And that is full bore awesome. As they're flying through the high speed sector. Pedro's close up on this time. And we might have a 3-way drag race coming down this long back straight. As somebody's moving through up the field. And that is Slash LP. Going up into P11, and he has a lot of fans in chat. But I'm pretty sure some guys want to watch the race at the front right now, so we're going to switch back as these guys come out the end of the carousel. Right now, we're on board with Senna right now as he's closing in on Jaladun. Can he make it 2 in a row blocks? There goes Senna up the inside. Senna's got his entire front wing, and Jaladun's actually hit him. Jaladun's turned into him. Pedro's going to push in on Jaladun. Pedro's got his car linked in there, but Pedro and Jaladun, Pedro gets pushed off wide, and Pedro takes the IndyCar exit as they're side-by-side racing, but Pedro gets his car ahead of Jaladun, and Jaladun so close behind of Pedro, and Jaladun drops down 2 places and into 3rd place. Painful Storm and Jonathan AR are having a little bit side-by-side right now throughout the first turn. I said that, it looks like Painful Storm has just soaked ahead of Jonathan AI. Now Slash LP chasing down Jonathan AI, trying to make another overtake to his belt. He's just been a overtaking master today. So let's ride on board with the Renault driver. See Jonathan AI taking a much wider line than everyone else. Slash LP on those medium tires as we look ahead as 6 Mickey and Painful Storm are going side by side. 6 Mickey was just on the outside apex of Painful Storm, not letting anything up. There's a lot of lockups going through there. Everyone getting so close. Actually, Painful Storm gets hit, but no, Mickey gets hit, and look at Slash LP up the inside of Jonathan AI. Jonathan AI and Slash LP, they had a little bit of dragons, but Slash LP sneaks it up in there for P10. But a move by Slash, they're going into the braking zone once more. Slash LP taking a very deeper line, trying to get on 6 Mickey once more. We're flying around that final corner. Slash LP closing in on 6 Mickey. Not making any moves into turn 1, but in the slow speed corners, he knows how to maneuver a car, taking a very wide berth, trying to find his way around Mickey. Mickey just struggling with that car control, just around a little bit. Slash all over his gearbox. We might see something as Senna drops down to Pedro into P2. Pedro sneaks up there, and Senna almost comes into the background as Senna, he might have a little bit of pedal problems, but Senna is leading the race. No, Pedro is leading the race. Senna in P2. Jaladun in P3. As Senna and Pedro racing nose to tail of each other. Pedro going down to the inside, trying to break up that slipstream, taking a defensive position, but here comes Senna rocketing down in that Alfa Romeo. Pedro moves out of the way, back into the preferred line. Senna holding that regular line. Big lockup from Pedro right there, but it's going to be Senna getting the overtake on Pedro and retakes the lead. Pedro and Senna still racing out for the lead right now. As I'm going to take a look at Slash LP is already doing it. We're going to take a look at the position change, and what a start by Slash LP. 10 places up. All on the medium tires. Great battling by the Renault driver right there, moving up 10 spots. And his teammate Painful Storm also moving up 8 spots. So Renault is definitely the team on the move. Let's switch back to Pedro and Senna right now. The leaders all so close with each other. Pedro going hard on the brakes. Bit of a lockup. He's chasing down Senna. The soft tires last around 10 laps here. And then they'll go on to the mediums. Senna now in Pedro's eyes. Can he make that McLaren go down that straight? He's closing in. Is he going to go for the move? He swings it to the inside. Pedro and Senna once more side by side. Pedro forces Senna out wide, and Senna falls down into P2. And this battle continues on once again. It is trading spots. This lap, next lap, this lap, next lap, this corner, next corner. And Senna's going to try to go for the first corner. They're going side by side into the first corner. This long 270 degrees, and there's contact. Pedro forces his way up the inside and forces Senna out and back into P2. A little bit of a dirty nudge right there, but Pedro and Senna are still racing. No damage on Senna's car. I'm not sure about Pedro's. Look at Pedro's car. I don't see any damage. There might be a little bit of a contact in the front left though, but it doesn't seem to be affecting his pace in the high speed corners as Pedro actually goes a little bit wide right there. These guys are once more racing with each other. Senna trying to close in and prepare himself for that back straight launch into P1, but Pedro's been watching him. He's been setting on his ways. He can defend from Senna, and he knows of his tricks, so Pedro might actually have a little bit of strategy this time. As Senna opens up DRS and unleashes that Ferrari Alfa Romeo power. And there goes Senna once more up the inside. Pedro holding him around the outside. Pedro has the advantage. Senna trying to push Pedro wide, but Pedro's going to force his way around the outside and hold off Senna. And yes, he does have it. Pedro withstands the Senna's attack. And now Pedro going up the inside. Senna trying to hold it around the outside. Give Pedro a little taste of his own medicine around turn one, but Pedro has actually gained a lot. Senna almost came into the back of Pedro. Right there as Yalidon's gone into the pits, and he did have front wing damage. And Pedro and Senna are still racing out at the front. Slash LP moves up to P8 now. That's 11 places up off of his starting spot. But the real fight at the start is between Pedro and Senna. If only Pedro's name was Prost, this would be very cool. Oh, apparently the Mercedes mechanics did not repair Jalida's front wing. That is very unfortunate. Remember, some of these guys do race on their own channels over on Twitch or on YouTube. So if you want to see your own favorite driver, you can go on to Twitch and search up their name, or YouTube and search up their name, and they will probably be live streaming this race right now with me. So let's take if you want to select your favorite driver's POV, that's the way to do it. As Tezu actually getting very loose off the exit of the penultimate corner right there. And now Tezu falling back behind of Senna and Pedro. And now Muddy Water closing in on Senna. Longquist Bro and Goodbye are actually racing with each other. Longquist Bro falling back to Goodbye. Goodbye actually has DRS on Longquist Bro, but Longquist Bro sitting behind Goodbye will be getting a bit of that drag, but he's gonna. Oh man, Longquist Bro went from out of nowhere! Shoves Goodbye, biases out of the way. Very big hit from Longquist Bro. And Slash LP overtakes his teammate and moves up into 7th place. 12 positions. P19 into P7. Slash LP making it nice on those medium tires. Those soft tires are worn out right now. They last around 9 to 10 laps, and he's taking full-on advantage as the skies are looking overcast. We might actually have some rain on the way here in China. Yeah, I think there actually might be some rain later on into this race with this overcast skies. Senna, the first one of the leaders into pits, as well as Tezu. As Ray Racing is going to put up a little bit of a bet saying Slash LP is going to get a podium. Quote me on this. Alright, well there's your quote. If you're right, you win. If you're wrong, that quoted aged poorly. That quoted ageth poorly. As Senna rejoins the track, he rejoins in P8, and that moves Slash LP up into P5. But Senna on those fresh mediums, trying to chase down Jonathan AI on those worn softs. Senna trying to go for the undercut on Pedro. Pit lane delta is around 21 seconds. So Senna has to be under 21 seconds to close his way. 21 to 22 seconds to close his way up and get ahead of Pedro. But Pedro, if he goes into pits right now, he'll come around Slash LP when he heads into the pits. But Senna coming up close to Painful Storm and the Renault Dream Team of Painful Storm and Slash LP as Muddy Water and Triton are going side by side. Muddy Water behind of Triton. Pedro going into the pits. Triton swinging into the pits. No, that was Muddy Water going into the pits. Very dangerous move from outside. As Triton staying out for one more lap on those mediums. Well, that's what he's going to do anyway. As Pedro's going into the pits, swinging onto those medium tires, coming out right there. Where will Pedro come out? He's going to exit side by side. Slash LP gets right there. Where is Senna? Senna's right behind Painful Storm, and he sees Pedro get ahead, and he's actually a car like that. He's actually a person ahead. Slash LP is in P2, but that is behind of Pedro, the net leader of the race on the fresher tires. As Senna and Painful Storm going side by side, but Senna getting around Painful Storm. And now the fight for the net lead is within this pact. Pedro is within Senna's eyes. These two are racing so close. Front wind and gearbox. Slash LP's running away from them. But within the carousel, Senna's gone onto the back of Pedro because Pedro doesn't have the tires warmed up to temperature. And we're going to have another drag race in the back street. Senna opens up DRS. Pedro does not have DRS. Senna closing it on Pedro like a rocket fired from its shell. But Pedro in the braking zone, they tap hard. And Senna moving his way ahead of Pedro, and Senna moves up into P3. Pedro tried to defend from Senna's attack, but unable to do so as Senna sets the new fast lap to 1:34.567. As Pedro and Senna race on. Slash LP, the next on Senna's list. Slash 12 lap old medium tires. Has a few more laps left on them before he has to go into the pits. Those mediums should last around 15 to 16 laps. But he is still under pressure by the fresh, tired mediums right there. Slash LP struggling for grip. Senna just feathering that car around these high-speed corners. Slash LP missing that apex. Senna closing in on Slash. The battle for P2 is alive and well. We're going into the carousel once more. Very overcast here today. So there's reflection off the track. Slash LP pulling away from Senna right there. Senna just getting his marbles and getting his bearings. So we're going to have a 3-wide drag race here in China. We have Senna opening and closing DRS. Senna diving down to the inside. Whoa, my! What the heck just happened right there? Well, that was weird. But Senna and Pedro get past /LP and move back up into P2 and P3. Triton, 16 seconds ahead of Senna and Pedro, the fastest cars on track, as Painful Sword finally goes into pits, promoting Muddy Water up into P7. Pedro and Senna still continuing this battle for the net lead. They're slowing each other's down if they are not careful, which is making Triton pull away. So if this battle continues on, this will be heavily in Triton's favor. As Senna and Triton racing. Senna and Pedro racing around the carousel once more. Senna within Pedro's eyes. Pedro closing in on Senna. Will there be a dive in the braking zone? There goes Pedro. Pedro does not get in there. Big locker for Pedro right there. Pedro trying to look for it from out of nowhere. Trying to send it from out of nowhere. Sent that thing from a different postal code. But Pedro sets a new fast lap of 1:34.411. And now Pedro tries to swing it around the outside of Senna. As they're side by side banging wheels, Pedro lets Senna by on the inside. Not wanting to risk anything around the outside and get into those marbles that are laid out there. That extra rubber and does not want to get it on the track. Pedro's trying to send it once more. Hard on the brakes. Senna locks up. Pedro locks up. And that order stays the same. These guys are still going at it. As Fruit Salsa picks up a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. Pedro dropping back from Senna just a tad bit in that dirty air. As Senna and Triton still racing around the carousel. That gap to Triton and Senna staying the same. It's actually increased just a tad bit. It went from 16, it's now to 15, but that is not increasing. It's not decreasing by a lot, and Triton will have great track position when he rejoins. Pedro not driving at all. And Triton's going into the pits. Triton's heading into the pits. He's going onto those soft tires on lap 16 out of 28. Right when the strategy's set to. There goes Senna and Pedro. Where does Triton come out behind? Triton is coming out in P4 right behind his Ferrari teammate of Tezu. And he actually slinks ahead of Jalidon. Now, Triton. Can he close that gap to Pedro and Senna after he clears Tezu? Never know. But Jalidon also closing in on Triton. As Senna and Pedro still racing out for the lead, holding each other up. As /LP went into the pits for the soft tires. Yep, he went in there and he drops down to P8. Now the overtaker of the race sits in P8. We're going to take a look at the position change after the pit stop phase. Biggest mover is actually tied with Line Martel and /LP, both 11 places up, as Pedro and Senna are racing and dancing around the back straight, trying to break that slipstream from each other. But Senna and Pedro, big locker from Senna right there. And he can't close in on Pedro. Well, look at Jalidun and Triton right now. Jalidun trying to close in on Triton, but tries to definitely closing in on Tenzio as Pedro sets the new fastest lap of the race. Triton taking a little bit of an IndyCar lines right there in that final corner. As Triton and Tezu coming around this long turn 1 and going into turn 2. Both the Ferraris going to be battling with each other. Soft tires versus medium tires. Some Ferrari team orders might happen right here. These guys are good friends of each other. Let's see if they're going to be an aggressive overtake. Yes, there is. Triton double wheel locked up, trying to push it up the inside. And the Tritonites are going wild in chat because Triton takes P3. What a move by Triton. 6 seconds behind of Senna and Pedro. And Pedro and Senna coming up on a lapped car of Lundqvist Bro. He takes the outside line. Senna getting onto the curves. Not the best exit for Senna. He's weaving around the track trying to break slipstream. As there's the DRS from Senna. Pedro just pulling away though. Senna unable to close in just much. Here comes Senna though. Trying to get into that slipstream of Pedro and not lose sight of his rival. As we see Triton in the background. Trying to close up as Pedro and Senna once more close up by DRS. Turn 1 making it very, very dicey. As they're coming on the exit. Senna and Pedro once more in the braking zone from out of nowhere. Slash LP takes the fastest lap of the race with a 1:34.254. He's got 15 seconds clear air on him with 12 places up from where he qualified. When I go back to Senna and Pedro. So Senna is in heaven, Pedro is on earth. Both these guys racing on the medium tires. Pedro pitting after Senna. Pedro will have the lower tire wear at the end of this race. He is in definite advantage territory right here. So we see Triton on those soft tires. 5 seconds back on Senna and Pedro if they continue battling. This will make it easier for Triton to close in on, especially with those softs. Come along into the final quarter once more. 10 laps remain here in China. And I must state something about Triton's tires. He is setting the fastest lap of a 1:33.767, but Triton, those tires at the very end will be around 13 laps old. And the softs last around the 10 to 11 laps of actual drivable pace. You can force them to 12 and 13, but they'll be so undrivable and so low on grip that it would just be very hard to control as Senna and Pedro have interacted. Gentlemen, that last car and Senna not having the exit that he wanted is stuck behind Intergalactic Gentleman, though, giving Senna the room and continuing this fight for the lead. It is a Brazilian 1-2 here in the Americas League. We'll see our first Brazilian winner, I believe. Yeah, we will. If these two guys continue on like this. As Pedro and Senna, their battle has kind of ceased right there. So we're gonna look down the track as Triton. Oh no, Triton picking up a 3-second time penalty. Is very unfortunate for Triton, picking up that 3-second time penalty for that overtrack extension in the background while he's trying to set fastest lap after fastest lap and try to close in. He's actually fallen down to Senna and Pedro. And Senna and Pedro, their pace has actually increased now as their cars have been separated. Pedro pulling away from Senna turn by turn. As Ocean Chief probably just jinxed Triton right there. Thanks, Ocean. Now you know how I feel. He's just making it hard for himself. That's great. The sun's popping out here in China. Track temperature is going to increase right now. And now they are still racing here in China with 8 laps remaining. Pedro and Senna closing in on Pedro. Senna charged up the attack once more. That car rotating very slowly. He gets this big snap oversteer. And he's fallen down to Pedro once more after that oversteer moment. As these two are racing hard here in China, lap after lap. Senna holding that inside line, sitting behind of Pedro. Hard on the brakes, Senna not trying to make a move, but getting on that rear end gearbox, and now this battle is once again striking fire as Senna on charge of Pedro. Senna and Pedro racing around turn 1. Senna dancing all along the back end of Pedro as Pedro's pulling away from Senna just a bit. So they're going hard on the brakes once more. Senna and Pedro still racing away as there was request for /LP and Triton. I'm sorry for everyone's ears.
There is no one by them.
And we return to your regular volume. As Senna and Pedro still racing along for the lead. Pedro swinging down to the inside, so does Senna. Now Pedro swinging to the outside, breaking that slipstream once more. Big lockup from Pedro right there. Senna trying to close in on Pedro once more. Alright, Chief, I will. There. Shalina picks up a 3-second time penalty. Pedro and Senna so close to each other. They can almost reach out and touch. As Lucas Bro picks up a 5-second stop-go penalty. Once more in the braking zone setup, making a big leap on Pedro. And trying to close in with just 6 laps remaining. And if you guys want to vote for your driver of the day, just type your driver of the day vote at the very end of the last lap, and they will be your driver of the day. So if you want to vote for your driver of the day, just put their names in the chat at the very end of the race. Make sure every time also says Senator Pedro, Senator Pedro, Senator Pedro, Senator Pedro. I do not drink kids. As Pedro is actually lapping Illicit right there. Breaking that slipstream with Senna right there. And I'm going to try not to say this, but it is a great battle. I pay way too much dice for alcohol points. You guys are great in chat. As Senna and Pedro still racing out for the lead with 5 laps remaining. As they start lap 24 out of 28. Senna sitting in that slipstream of Pedro. Senna hard on the brakes, closing in. Trying to close in as much as he can at Pedro, but unable to. And once more, this battle continues on. The skies are getting darker here. Threat of rain, what is always a problem here in China, but I don't think we're going to see any rain at all, because actually the suns came out. And that has made the track much warmer, because Jalidun is within a second of Tezu. Jalidun trying to make a move up into P4, especially as he's closed in on Tezu. And he's on 15 lap old medium tires. So those tires are almost at the end of their lifespan. Tezu on 13 lap old tires. No DRS. Nope, there is DRS for Jalidun. He's closing in on Tezu very hard on the brakes. I was about to just said, yo, stop the right. Yep, Jalidun still has a broken front wing. He's missing one of the end plates to his front wing. As Jalidun and Tezu racing it out for P4. Interactive Gentleman picking up a 3-second time penalty. As Jalidun came out of nowhere, honestly, closing in on Tezu. Jalidun looked. I thought he was going to send it in that hairpin as Tezu gets a very bad exit back and kick it out right there. And now that has prompted Jalidun to go on the attack in these high-speed corners, but Jalidun on these very, very, very worn medium tires doesn't have the laps to hold off Tezu if he gets ahead or continues this attack, as his teammates Muddy Water is right behind him. And I have reports that Jalidun has a broken front wing. I do not see where that front wing is broken. As Tezu is within Jalidun's attack right now. Jalidun opening up DRS. Tezu staying down the inside. Jalidun going around the outside. They both break hard. Big lock up from Tezu. Jalidun around the outside. Tezu staying in the outside, but it's going to be Jalidun for P4. Light green right side. I don't see where that wing would be damaged from, though. Trey's such a gentleman. As Jonathan AI falls down a lot. Jonathan AI spun. We have a spinner here in China, and that's Lion Martel moving up to P14. Jonathan AI fell down a lot of positions right there, spinning in the carousel. As we're going to rejoin with Tezu and Xiaolidun coming up to the long back straight very soon. Jonathan sitting ahead of Tezu on those very worn medium tires, going to prefer that outside line with all the marbles, trying to get as much rubber onto those tires as he can. As here comes Tezu. Tezu closing in. We're going to have another hairpin move hard onto the brakes. Here comes Tezu making his way up the inside. They lock wheels though. Tezu and Xiaolidun still side by side. Xiaolidun has the inside line advantage. He's going to push Tezu out wide. Xiaolidun though sticking to the inside. He has DRS advantage on Xiaolidun. Tezu around the outside in turn 1, but no. Turn 1 is very inside line advantage, and Xiaolidun will retain that advantage throughout that entire turn and stay in P4. Tezu and Xiaolidun racing so close to each other on these worn tires. We're going to switch back. Well, I was going to say we're going to switch back to Senna and Pedro, but actually, Senna, he's lost a lot of time to Pedro from out of nowhere. On 2 laps to go, Senna, his pace has gone out of nowhere, and I think that might be from tire wear. So as we enter the last lap, the gap between the leaders is 1.5 seconds, and it's Pedro in the lead. As Xiaolidun is now, no, it's actually Muddy Water pressuring Tezu. Muddy Water and Tezu closing in on each other. DRS is open. Muddy Water trying to do what his teammate did as well. Looks to the inside line, taking a wider line. He sees that wall. Tezu, whoa, losing a lot of grip right there. And now Muddy Water trying to find the grip to go around the outside, but he's unable to do it. As Jonathan and I has left the session on the very last lap, and Senna has dropped down to 2 seconds. And for a second, I thought that back rear tire was a flat. But that pace has just dropped all the way from Senna. As Xiaolidun and Tezu and Muddy Water are racing so close to each other. I'm going to switch back to Senna. Try and picks up a 3-second time penalty. He has 6 seconds of time penalties now. Gonna have the time as it's Pedro leading it out. What a fantastic race from Pedro as he takes the win here in China. And he sets the fastest lap too, just for solidification. Here comes Triton in P3, and he does get it. Xiaolidun and Tezu and Muddy Water, all of them racing together. As they're coming across the line, Tezu jumps up into P3, Muddy Water in P5, and Xiaolidun goes into P6. /LP coming along the line, the biggest mover of the day by 12 positions. Ladies and gentlemen, your driver of the day, /LP. Z3 Mikey coming across the line right now in that Red Bull. Didn't have that much of a race, but hey, that is points as Painful Storm also with his teammate, moved up a lot of positions, 7 positions in fact, and is going to finish in P9. But all eyes are on Pedro as he takes the win here in China. He outperformed Senna, and that is a win for Pedro. As the race ends right now, we have, for the first time in the Americas League, a Brazilian on top. And it's Pedro taking the win as they spray the champagne to end round 3 here in China. Anton, I'll let you know the settings after this. As we see our very final results, it's Pedro taking the win, followed by Senna with Triton, Tezu, Muddy H2O, Jalidon, Slash LP, C3 Mikey, Painful Storm, Rafa, Trippy Johns, Goodbye, Fruit Salsa, Blind Martel, Six Mickey, Illicit, Intergalactic Gentleman, Lungquist Bro, Jonathan AI, and Pranky, rounding up the final parts of it. But what a race that Pedro and Senna gave to us. And we'll be in the interview room very soon, just after these short messages. All right. Welcome to the interview room. We got Triton and Jalidon in here. I'm gonna move more guys in here, but how is that race for you two?
I'm not happy at all, actually. I'll let Jalidon speak first, and then I'll give my story.
Unfortunately, our sentiment rings true for both of us. This race left a very bitter taste in my mouth. That's for sure.
Yeah, same, honestly. But you can go first.
I mean, it was a really close qualifying. I gotta give it to Pedro for throwing that lap out literally last second to take pole for me. Props to him, that was a great lap, but unfortunately I got hit down the inside from Senna. He locked up and just pushed me completely off the track and gave me wing damage lap 2. So I dealt with that entire race, pitted and had my wing to change on yes, didn't change the wing, so did the whole race with the yellow wing.
Alright, well, we also have Senna in chat. Senna, how was that race for you? Any comments on that incident with Jalidon?
Good evening to all. The track of China is one that I like a lot, so I knew that my pace was strong. I was able to steer the whole time. I knew I could not beat Triton, Pedro, so Triton have a problem in the qualify. But I have to get another podium, finish another clean race. Sorry for Jalidon, I tried to overtake him and I little touching you, so sorry for all. But that's it. I like this race. Second point in the championship.
Yeah, second place. It looked like you were battling for the lead with Pedro, but your pace just dropped off drastically in the final 2 laps. Was that all from tire wear, or was it just Pedro saving up his tires that is unleashing the beast as he set the fastest lap?
Pedro have a more pace than me, so completed the last lap, fast lap the race. I push, tried to overtake, but having no any chance to take this place. So I finished the second. It's good for me. Pedro is really fast in this track. Thanks for all.
All right. Well, thank you for that. We have Triton in here. You let Jaladon go before you, right?
I did, yeah.
All right. You want to say how that race went? You did get on the podium.
Well, yeah, but I expected more, to be honest. I'll start by saying what happened in qualifying, because I don't know, I didn't see the stream, so I don't know what happened, but I was on my lap, and Frankie didn't see me, and right at the end just completely blocked me and backed into me, and so I got a 5-place grid penalty for that. And unfortunately, everyone behind me, or some of the people behind me, didn't put in faster laps, so I actually had to start on like 2-lap-old medium tires for the race. And tire temperatures were a problem, and grip was a problem throughout the whole stint because of the heavy fuel and the lack of grip from the mediums because they were already worn. And I was just basically wrestling the car the whole race, just trying to keep it on track. Towards the end, it got a little bit better since I was able to put on those soft tires, but the damage was done from qualifying. And also, I do have to give it up to Pedro and Senna, because they did really good to keep away even though I was on the off. But the slipstream in this game is just really powerful, so I was trying my best to get a gap, but they were able to just keep with each other and get away from me, so yeah.
Alright, well thank you for that. We have our winner with us. It is Pedro. Pedro, how is that race for you?
Awesome. Yes, really awesome. The battle with Senna was amazing. I think was really fair from both of our parts. We did a little of banging wheels on turn 1, but I think the okay with that as me. And yeah, it was really hard. I wasn't the best one, but put me on pole, so that's what is important. My start was awful, really, and until lap 10 I wasn't feeling too comfortable on the wheel and the game itself. But when I hit it and put the medium tires on, started feeling really comfortable, and yeah, I think from that on everything was going well. And yeah.
You had a race-long battle.
Yeah,
you had a race-long battle with Senna. What was going through your mind during that battle? Was it keep him behind you and continue to push and maybe try to get Triton up there, or was it just pace?
Oh, I was trying to break the DRS zone, but I couldn't. Like the first sector, I was really fast, but the second sector, the Senna was really better than me, and I just couldn't break the DRS activation, the 1 second gap to him. I thought with myself, like, I can do better than what I was doing. So glad to have the fastest lap as well. Pole winning fastest lap was, yeah. Unfortunately Raven wasn't here.
Yeah, unfortunately, unfortunately, a few of our major drivers were not here today. As thank you, Jaladon, for that clip. As Love was
I wanna thank my friend that is giving me his wheel and his computer to race. His name is Eduardo. Really thank you, man. He's here by my side watching me.
Oh, that's legendary.
That is a legendary friend right there.
Yeah, I wish I had a friend to give me a wheel if mine broke.
Well, friends are there indeed, as Longquist Bro has joined us in the interview room. Longquist, how's that race for you?
Boring and a bit frustrating. So first corner, it was pretty good. I think I gained a position or two, but then I got a minuscule screen freeze, which pretty much froze my wheel, and then it came back, and that just threw me wide, which dropped me to 20th on Mac. Then while fighting, what's his name, Frankie, you gotta just get back into 18th and move upwards. He probably got a bit too aggressive and tried to. He thought he had room when he didn't. He clipped my back right and almost spun me, which just dropped me back to 20th, and I was out for a race.
It's very unfortunate for you right there. I know you've been having a bit of troubles with those guys in the backfield, but hopefully next round will be much better for y'all. I'm going to have to end this stream right now. Thank you all for tuning in. Any closing comments y'all want to make?
Off to Austria.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody.
See you guys next week. Hopefully we'll have a better race.
See
Good
ya.
job as always with the commentary, guys.
Thank you. My voice is killing me right now, but thank you, everybody, for tuning in. My name is Austin Knight, and I hope you guys have a wonderful and fantastic night.